Hey guys, John here from the Esports department doing my first video breakdown. This one's going to be a little different than some of the ones I'll do in the future. I'm going to go a little bit lighter. It's a two-game slate that I don't think is like super in-depth or interesting for building. I mostly wanted to make this video to give you guys a little teaser of what the model will look like when it's finished and to show you guys how to use the optimizer. So our LPL model is still in back testing right now, which is why I'm not going to be using it for this video. I'm using kind of an older method that I used for years. I will tell you, the model is going to blow away the accuracy of this method that I'm using right here. I used this method for a very long time. It's been successful for me. It's a good method. But the stuff that we've been doing with this model is just whole otherworldly compared to this. So I'm going to use the old method for this video since the LPL model is still a couple days away from being done with back testing. So the first slate is going to be the Mid-Season Cup, which is some top LPL and LCK teams battling it out for a little bit of money, some bragging rights. I would expect it to be a little looser and more fun than like a playoff atmosphere, even though it's the best teams. But in general, we're just going to use this method that I used for a very long time. I have my old KPW DPL sheet here. I've kind of edited it down to just the teams that are in the Mid-Season Cup so that you guys can look at the Mid-Season Cup numbers if you want. But KPW DPL, for people that are not used to using one of these, shows the kills per win and deaths per loss for teams. Since one of the most important things for League DFS is knowing how many kills your team is going to get, the bloodier the team is, the more kills they get, the more points their players are going to score for the most part. So you want to know which team's going to average the most kills. And we use the KPW DPL sheets because the first line right here is going to show you their kills per win. So SKT, or T1 as they're referred to over here, average 14.1 kills per win. When they lose games, they usually give up 15.2 deaths per game. So it's kills per win and deaths per loss. You can see the same thing for FPX down here. They average 18.2 kills when they win games, and they average 17.5 deaths when they lose games. So what you want to be doing is comparing the kill per win number for the team that you think is going to win with the deaths per loss number for the team you think they're going to beat to kind of come up with an aggregation of what you maybe could expect from that game. And this is something we've worked on heavily for the model, and we have a much more precise algorithm in the model. But for this video, I'm going to do what I did for multiple years, and I'm just going to average them. So up here you can see the matchups for the first slate. Top Esports is a minus 230 favorite against Damwon Gaming. Top is expected to get 17.3 kills in a win. All of these numbers are only going to be if this team wins. We do not expect the final score to be 17.3 to 16.7. This is what we would expect the winning team to score. So if Damwon Gaming beats Top, we would expect them to average about 16.7 kills and 17.35 for Top. Damwon Gaming from Korea is plus 165. T1 is a minus 150 favorite against FPX, who is a plus 110 underdog. T1 expected at 15.8 kills and FPX at 16.7. So there are other stats that go into things other than just the kills. Like the vast majority of points in League DFS are scored through kills and assists. But there is also creep score, which tends to add points to your mid player and AD carry player, sometimes to the top laner, and do not add anything to your support player and very little to your jungler. So that just gives an extra lean to mid players and AD carries, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we go into the players. I do want to go over the ownership expectation for this slate. Generally speaking, I think you can expect ownerships to fall based on these odds for the most part. It's not always true, but I definitely think it will be true for this slate. I think you can expect Top Esports to be the highest owned team, T1 to be the second highest owned team, FPX to be third, and Damwon Gaming to be fourth. I wouldn't be surprised if T1 and FPX are relatively close in ownership. They're minus 150 to plus 110, but I think this is a close matchup. FPX are the reigning world champions. A lot of people will definitely factor that in. And so I think you can expect pretty even ownership from these two teams. Top, on the other hand, I think will be a fairly large favorite over Damwon. They had a bad end to their season. Top had a very strong end to their season, almost winning the LPL. I think you can expect Damwon by far to be the lowest team. And so let's talk about how we would use that information. If you're playing cash games, I think it's pretty straightforward that you're going to want to be on top Esports and one of these two teams. For players who have not played that much LoL before, I don't know how many people are coming into the esports department that are not previous League of Legends players, but just in case you're not, League of Legends is definitely a heavy stacking game. You want to be stacking teams, and you do not want losers in your lineup almost ever. There are some situations where game stacking can be correct, but it's pretty rare, and it's not usually an optimal build. So generally speaking, if you're on a 2-game slate like this, you're going to want to pick a side of each game and get stacks in on those sides. If you're playing cash, I think top esports and one of these two teams, T1 makes the most sense to me. I think they're a reasonable favorite, but if you wanted to go FPX and TES and cash, that wouldn't bother me at all. For GPP, something I want to talk about that not enough people utilize, no team at the professional level in League of Legends is really less than like 20% to beat any other team in a professional League of Legends. That's usually like pretty much the minimum of where a team would be, is right around 20%. And given how often you need to win GPPs to be successful, it's almost always correct to be playing some sort of underdog because of how high the ownership is on combinations of favorites. When you're supposed to be stacking, like you have to in League DFS, it limits the number of lineups that people can come up with. And so if you go into a GPP like the Titan on this slate, and you play T1 and top, every combination of those two teams is going to be like 75 way owned. Maybe not quite that high, but very highly owned. And so I really think it's very rarely correct to go into a big GPP like that and play a combination of those teams. If you're in, like, say, the $333, that's like 150 players or 200 players, you can play these teams. And if you want to try to limit your ownership, maybe you try to play a weird combination of them, like a slightly suboptimal combination that is still reasonably likely. But for something like the big tournaments like the Titan or a Minimax or something, I just don't think you should even enter them if you want to play TES and T1. You'd be much better off just playing those two teams in cash games, double ups, heads ups, things like that, and trying to take advantage of people misconstructing their lineups. I don't think it's worth the shot in the GPPs. Sorry, I'm going to have just a little bit of dog noise in the background here. I'll hope that it goes away quickly. I'm on vacation in my parents' house, and there's definitely a wild dog, so I'll hope that it doesn't last too long. Down here, what I've done for you is laid out the kill participations for every player on these teams. So for T1, this is the percentage of the team's kills that these players are involved in. For Damwon Gaming, you can see them, and I've put players that play the same position together, so we don't know for sure whether Ghost or Nuclear would be playing, or Hoyt or Beryl. I haven't really heard any lineup news about these teams, so I can't say for sure who's going to be playing. Oh, let me stretch that down a little bit. And you can see top esports right here and FPX. And I'll show you what you do with those is you want to be able to make comparisons between the two teams that you're stacking. So as an example for what we're doing here, I'm going to work under the assumption that we are going to make GPP lineups and that we have decided to play FPX and Damwon Gaming in order to try to minimize the ownership on our lineups. So that's just for the examples, because what I'm trying to go through here mostly is the optimizer with you guys, and so that's what we're going to work with, Damwon Gaming and FPX. So if you go down here, I have FPX laid out and Damwon Gaming laid out. Damwon does have 280 carries and 2 supports. I'm going to treat it like these top players are playing, just to run through this, because we don't know for sure who is playing. I don't necessarily think it's likely that Ghost and Hoyt are the players, but let's run through it as if they are. And I actually do think that Khan is going to end up playing, but we're going to treat it as if it's Gimgoon, because what we're doing here is just running through to show you guys how everything works. So you want to compare the kill participations to see where you can get the biggest edges by running one side of your stack. So Gimgoon at 55.1 versus Nuguri at 65.6. Nuguri with a 10.5% advantage versus Gimgoon. And then look at these other numbers. So minus 1.7 for Canyon versus Tian. Showmaker minus 3.9 versus Doinby. Ghost minus 1.5 versus LWX. And Hoyt minus 3.3 versus Crisp. What that tells you is that like Nuguri is like a must play for you in this stack. You don't necessarily have to play him in every lineup, but he is by far the biggest advantage, and he's the only player on his team that has an advantage against the other team. So this is monstrous. Like, Nuguri is so much better of a play than Gimgoon that you definitely want to be getting Nuguri in your lineups. That said, sometimes that is the kind of pivot that you can make to a slightly suboptimal lineup in a GPP to try to get better ownership. Maybe you play Gimgoon knowing that some people are going to know this Nuguri thing and they're all going to shove Nuguri in their lineups. Maybe you try out Gimgoon and hope he has a good game. But for the purpose of this, let's just say we've discovered our nice edge right here in the stacking. And let's go over to the optimizer, and this is the big thing I want to talk about is the optimizer. So the first thing I was just talking about it is we want to make sure we're only getting winning players in our lineups. So if we're playing Dam1 Gaming and FPX, I've already sorted by team right here, so they're coming by team. That means we don't want any T1 players. Keep in mind right now I'm only under the Captains tab right here, but we don't want any T1 players in our lineups. We want FPX, we want Dam1, but we don't want any of these top esports players in our lineup either. I should mention that I noticed an error in the optimizer that is not yet fixed, it doesn't look like, but it will be. Karsa, who's listed right here as a Dam1 Gaming player, is not a Dam1 Gaming player. He is a top esports player. So he's going to go. Now we're left with only our players from FPX and Dam1. We will go to the other roles. And I already did this. But we only have the players from Dam1 Gaming and Fun Plus Phoenix in each position. That is the way that we want it. And I have removed the other top laner because Nuguri is such a huge advantage that we only would want Nuguri in our lineups. Now, as far as deciding which captains we want to play, when the models and projections get in here, this will be a lot easier. But for the sake of this, let's just look at kill participations. Given that mids and AD carries get the most benefit from creep score, and the highest kill participation players in this matchup are mostly mids and AD carries anyway. One of them is a support, but without getting the bonuses from creep scores and stuff, it's pretty clear that the highest expectation players should be Doinby, LWX, Showmaker, especially if Dam1 has a big game. TN is in there as well. Let's limit it down and say that for captains, let's only play Doinby, LWX, and Showmaker. So let's see if it will allow us to get that. Usually what you want to do is find the most expensive player that you can to start off with. So let's say LWX. Let's put him in the captain. We're going to have to do something else. The optimizer needs you to make a couple decisions. It's just a rule of DraftKings. It can't just optimize lineups for you. You have to have some inputs. So let's start by making us the most expensive captain that we're considering, LWX. And if we're going to play him, there's only one other AD carry in our pool. So we're going to have to be playing Ghost. So let's just put him in there. Let's optimize here and see if it will fill up. If it says that it won't fill up because we don't have enough salary, then we can go back and start messing with a lower owned captain and see if we can get a lower expensive, a lower cost captain in the captain slot. Maybe we don't have enough salary to play any of these guys and we have to go down the list a little bit and do TN captains, or maybe we have to go down and do Canyon captains. Sometimes you might have to go all the way down to doing support captains like Crisp. But for the time being, let's see if an LWX captain would work. We optimize, boom, pops a lineup in there. So there we go. There's at least one lineup with LWX captain. And we can note something important right here, which is this lineup only costs $46,700, leaving $3,300 on the table, which tells us that we can fit any combination of players from these two teams. There's like, nobody will be too expensive. With using the most expensive player at captain, we still easily fit it in here with tons of money to spare. So we can do any combination we want. So that's great. So now we just want Doinby, LWX, and Showmaker as our captains. We'll do it that way. Let's clear this out because what we really want to talk about here is this next tab over right here. Right now we have our player pool built. That's how we want it. Let's go over to multi-lineups. And when we go over here, we're going to click this settings button right here. And let's go through what's in there because this is the crazy stuff that I think a lot of people don't realize how easily you can do something like this. So here's salary cap implications, telling it what percentage of the salary cap we want to use. I think limiting your salary cap It's not going to matter with this slate because, like we said, we just used the most expensive captain and it left $3,300 on the table. But a lot of people will usually spend as much money as they can, and sometimes it can be a nice GPP advantage if you want to try to play like the favorites and you're worried about ownership. Just max the salary cap at 99 instead of 100, and right there you're going to remove a ton of the most like popular lineups. Any lineup that uses all the money, and really in League, it just wouldn't be that surprising for somebody that was lower scoring to outscore somebody that was slightly more expensive. So while 80 carry captains are optimal, sometimes if you want to drop down to something like a mid or a jungle captain to try to reduce the ownership on your lineups, go ahead and do it. And an easy way to have this do it for you, just limit the salary cap. Or you can go down here to captain positions and just tick and untick different positions. You decide you don't want 80 carry captains because you think those are going to be too highly owned, boom, 80 carry captains are gone. Now it'll only make other kinds of captains. We kind of already did our captain stuff in the player pool, so we can't really mess with this. Or at least it doesn't do anything for us. So we'll leave that alone. Max player exposure, just letting it know, are you willing to be 100% on one guy, or do you want that to be limited so you have some hedge in there? Let's assume that we're fine with it being 100%. We have Nugri as the only top laner in our pool right now, so we pretty much have to leave it at 100%. He's the only top laner available to us. Under unique players, you can tell it how many players you want to change per lineup. So 1 is basically saying, I don't mind if you put the same lineup in there 10 times as long as there's one different person in every lineup, which is the way that you generally want it. I don't think I've ever generated lineups using any of these other numbers. That's usually where you want it to be. Under team, this is where, this is just a very cool thing that I think a lot of people don't realize that you can easily do to generate lineups. So this is team rules, and this is how we're going to stack. So I'm going to add a rule that says that I want 4 players from, let's say, Damwon Gaming. I just save that. Now when it generates lineups, it's only going to generate lineups that are 4 stacks of Damwon. As it turns out, we would want to compare our teams to see which one we would want heavier stacks of, but these teams are exactly even in their expectation. I might lean towards Damwon because they're playing against a generally bloodier opponent, so maybe slight lean to Damwon if they win, but they have the same expectation, so it doesn't really matter either way. So we put a rule in there, 4 players from Damwon in every lineup. If we go to position, you can change positionary rules. You can say, this is for kind of correlated stuff. You can say, I only want to pair an 80 carry captain with the support from their team. There's correlations between 80 carries and supports on the same team. If an 80 carry is your captain, if he has a big game, there's a pretty good chance that his support is going to do well as well. So you can just pop a rule like this in here and make it so that all your lineups end up with 80 carry and support. All you would have to do is just add the filter and save the settings. Nice and easy to do. Over on player correlations, it's kind of the same thing. You can say when lineups include Jackie Love, you want to use exactly 1 player from his team. Or exactly 1, you can put Faker captain in there. Or no, not Faker captain would work because we're already captain. Gory. Include exactly 1 of Showmaker in the lineup as well. So it's just another way for you to stack and correlate players together. And that stuff can be very useful, especially when you see the model later, like I was talking about. There's a lot more information in there. There's correlation data in there. You can use these to make sure you're getting the correct correlations for your lineups. But for the moment, let's just save it. We've got our 4 Damwon setting in there. We have the captains that we want. Let's go back here and just click Generate Lineups. Boom, there we go. We have 18 lineups that have one of the captains that we set up. It was Doinby, LWX, and Showmaker. So all these lineups are either going to have Doinby, LWX, or Showmaker, and they are all going to include 4 Damwon Gaming players. I will point something out. This is very important, and a lot of people miss this. You should not consider the team to be a member of the, to be a player on the team. Teams and players from that team do not correlate in score. So if the game is super bloody, the team doesn't care about that, and all the players do. So what you want to do, every optimizer I've ever seen includes the team as part of the team. So if you say I want a 4-stack Damwon, it includes Damwon Gaming team as a member of that team. So what you want to do is what I'm going to show you right here. Since we're going to make Damwon Gaming lineups, let's just go over here and remove Damwon Gaming as a possible choice. If we're going to make 4 Damwon Gaming players in a lineup, we don't want the team as one of them. So let's go back now and redo it. Boom, now we're down to 9 lineups, but we have the real kind of lineups that we want. Only Doinby, LWX, and Showmaker captains, and only with 4 Damwon Gaming players in every lineup. So I'm going to start showing you the next part of this process as well, because this is also something that's just crazy mind-blowing. So let's go to this tag part, and let's go RR1, and click Add Tag. Now all these lineups have been tagged as RR1. Now we're going to save them. So save lineups. They're going to go over to this My Lineups and Entries portion. We were on the multi-lineups portion. When I save them, they're going to go over here. And I'll show you why we want to do that real quick. Because now, let's clear this out. Let's go back and make a second kind of lineup that normally I would want to make if I was trying to do this kind of setup. Let's go to Excluded Players. Let's bring Damwon Gaming Team back. Let's go to My Pool. Now this time, let's get rid of Fun plus Phoenix. And then we can go to the Multi-Lineups tool, go back to the settings, and let's change our rule. Instead of having 4 Damwon Gaming players in a lineup this time, let's get 4 players from Fun plus Phoenix. The other side. We looked at this already. These two teams have the same expectation in kills, so we maybe want both sides as a stack. So let's go 4 players from Fun plus Phoenix. We'll save the settings. Now we're getting the opposite side. 4 Fun plus Phoenix players with Damwon Gaming team. Let's generate that. And it doesn't bring up anything for us. Oh, I think this optimizer is having problems with Fun plus Phoenix at the moment. I'm sorry, guys. So let's do it a different way just so that I can show you what I was attempting to show you. Let's play. Let's decide that we want to play some lineups of Damwon Gaming and T1 instead. This will be a good learning experience anyway. So we want T1. Let's go heavy T1 teams instead. So we don't want their team. We want Damwon Gaming as the team. We go back to like support. We can eliminate the FPX players. Go to excluded and bring in the T1 player. AD carry. We can bring back our T1 player. And then go to my pool over here and eliminate the FPX player that we're not going to use. Go to mid. Eliminate Doinby. Bring back Faker. Go to jungle, take out Tian and bring back Cuz. Go to top and bring back Canna and eliminate. Oh, we have already eliminated Genji. Now for captains, if we're not going to play FPX, we don't want LWX and Doinby. Let's have a look and see who the highest scoring T1 players are. So for T1, it's Teddy and Cuz. Faker will do more creep scoring than Cuz, so it's possible that he actually outscores him, but since we're just using this basic method, let's just go with Teddy and Cuz, and those will be guys that we will add back in as possible captains. So now my pool, now we're dealing with Teddy, Cuz, and Showmaker lineups only. We have only the T1 and Damwon Gaming players left. We've only left Damwon Gaming team, because when we go here, we are going to kill this rule, and we're going to add a new one, which is 4 players from T1. We will generate lineups. There we go, just like we would have thought. 4 players from T1 in every lineup. You can see the exposures of every player over here. So we are 100% on Damwon Gaming team, 83% on Faker, 75% on Kana. So you can see it all right here of where everybody's at. Then let's put a different tag, RR3 let's say. We'll put that tag on all these lineups and we'll save them. Now over here we have a total of 21 lineups, but they're separated between RR1 lineups and RR3 lineups. If I wanted to go print them, I can go download files right here. And it will let me select if I only want to download the RR1s or the RR3s. I can do. Sorry about that, guys. Just had a small tech issue on my side. But what I was showing you, so you can go to the download files. You can download just one set of your lineups, the RR1s or the RR3s. You can do both. If you just click download lineups, go to DraftKings, there's an upload lineups button, no problem. But the thing that I would really want to show everybody is how to edit your entries. So if you go to DraftKings, I'll show you the path right here to get your entries file downloaded. I have mine right there on the desktop already. But if you go to lineups on DraftKings and go to edit entries, then you just pick the right slate and click download. It will give you an entries file, which looks just like this. If you take this entries file, you'll be looking at this on the optimizer. If you click upload entries and grab your entries file and just drop it right there and click upload entries, boom, it's now loaded in all the entries that I have. Obviously I haven't actually registered for this slate, so I just have one $5 entry that I use for this example. That lineup will pop up right here, and it's part of the reason why tagging our lineups earlier mattered. So this is the lineup that was already entered. We don't want to actually use that lineup. I was just using it as a placeholder lineup. So the best thing you can do, you just go over here. You have this is my one entry. If I click mass replace tool, if I had a lot of entries here and click mass replace tool, I can just click like RR1 or RR3, or I can click both, and as long as it's the same number of lineups that I'm trying to replace, it will replace it. For this one, I'm just going to do this no tag set lineup. Click submit. It will overwrite all the entries, and then all I have to do is go to download files, download entries. Now I have a new file that's a Fantasy Labs entries file. All I have to do is go back to that same screen where I downloaded and click upload CSV and enter that file, and it will automatically overwrite all the entries. So I only had one entry to overwrite there, but given the number of lineups that we had, I would have wanted to enter 21 lineups in that tournament with dummy lineups or whatever. Do it here, it would show 21 entries. I would just select just this, just go mass replace tool, and overwrite with my RR1 and RR3 lineups. And it would just replace them automatically when you upload this new file. So that's just like a super easy way to mass replace stuff. It's the easiest that I've seen. It's significantly easier than things like Fantasy Cruncher that I've seen before. This is just one that's much faster and more efficient. So you can also do things like a global player swap here. You can just go, I want to trade Knight for Faker or whatever, and it will automatically replace them in any lineup. If you need to delete lineups so that you can put some new ones, you just go here and, oh, I just want to delete the RR1s, or I just want to delete the RR3s, or I want to delete both. If I need to delete entries as well, so I can put a new entries file, just delete all lineups and entries. And if you guys need any help with that kind of stuff, just message me and I will go back over it with anyone that wants to go back over it, and we can talk about it. I don't mind talking on Twitter or in the Discord or whatever if anybody has any questions about that. Tomorrow I'll try to put something up for FanDuel because I haven't looked at FanDuel yet. I don't play there nearly as often as DraftKings, but I will try to put something up for FanDuel as well tomorrow. But hit me up with any questions you have about the slate. Let me know what you liked or didn't like about this kind of video so we can really zoom in on what you guys want for the future videos. I appreciate you guys. Let me know if you need anything, and I'll... Oh, were you guys still here? Sorry about that, just taking care of some other business. I did think that maybe, since I talked about doing it earlier, you guys might want to take a look at some of the things that might be offered in the LPL, LCK, LCS, and LEC models. I'm not going to do it for long, but a quick flash for you of the kind of different statistics you guys are going to have access to once the models go live. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for signing up, boys. Talk to you later.